Mission for Tuesday, February the 26th, 2019. And instead of an invocation this evening, we celebrated Lynnhaven for the second time, the Black History Month, and tonight our theme was the migrations of our Black ancestors. Maya Angelou, I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings. The free bird leaps on the back of the wind and floats downstream till the current ends, and dips his wings in the orange sun rays and dares to claim the sky. But a bird that stalks down his narrow cage can seldom see through his bars of rage. His wings are clipped and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with fearful trill of the things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. The free bird thinks of another breeze, and the trade wind soft through the sighing trees, and the fat worms waiting on a dawn-bright lawn, and he names the sky his own. But a caged bird stands on the grave of dreams, his shadow shouts on a nightmare scream. His wings are clipped, and his feet are tied, so he opens his throat to sing. The caged bird sings with a fearful trill of things unknown but longed for still, and his tune is heard on the distant hill, for the caged bird sings of freedom. If you'd stand with me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. At this time, the city manager has asked to have just a moment for a special presentation.
Kaylee, come up front, please. This is our last official day for Miss Kaylee Gardner. For those that don't know Kaylee, she is a very, very bright young lady. She's done wonders with Catherine in the communication and marketing department. Always that beautiful smile. And but we're actually losing her to, she's moving to Ohio, which we wish her the best. And she has done a lot of things to help the city. I just wanted to recognize you during the meeting, and we're going to miss you and love you, baby.
At this time, we go to item number 3, which is the mayor's report. And I personally would just like to thank Kaylee as well. Even during right after the storm and the weeks following, Kaylee has, along with everybody in her department, she worked so hard to keep things normal, especially for children. All the efforts for Halloween, for Christmas, for the gifts, all the different things that happen in the park. God bless you and safe travels, Kaylee. You've been a blessing to us. Thank you. Makes me cry. I didn't know you were leaving. She's been keeping it a secret from me. Okay, she was afraid I was going to make her stay. The next thing, it's kind of a great thing that I feel really good about doing because I don't have to have a campaign. I'm very excited about that. There's no campaign, and so I'm depleting my campaign account. And so part of it, I'd like to donate tonight to the City of Lynnhaven Hurricane Relief Trust Fund in the amount of $10,000. So there it is, and that will go to 10 more of our families. We've been, for those of you that might not be aware, we've been giving $1,000 grants to those who've applied in Lynnhaven, and we're right at the $100,000 number right now. So we're 115. So we're about to do 10 more. So that'll be great, and we're still pursuing those. Again, tonight we celebrated Black History Month. We had a great gathering here, and we had many students with their art that they entered. Did any of the students stay from the art contest that wanted to be presented at the City Commission meeting tonight? Did any of those children stay? they were so excited about the meeting they quickly went home. But they were just great. And this particular person is not here this evening, but I'm so proud of her. I had the honor of teaching with her for many years. And this is Yvette Griffin, and I don't know if you noticed or not, but she was a Mosley teacher, and she's retired now, lives here in Lynnhaven, and she was named the 2019 Teacher of a Lifetime for that award, and I'm so proud to be her friend and to have known her all these years. So congratulations to Yvette, and I hope that she might be listening to this exciting meeting by computer, wherever she is. The next thing that I just wanted to give you a few items that have taken place in over the meetings that I've attended. I did meet today with the city manager and some of the representatives from FEMA, and he'll be telling you some more about that meeting. I had the opportunity to sing the national anthem the other night at the Beach Chamber of Commerce Awards Banquet, and I'd spoken about this earlier. All of us have those opportunities when we realize that we all have moments that we are not as strong as we think we are. And having sung that song probably 100 times in my life, stood in front of about 1,200 people in complete silence and sang the first line and then couldn't remember another word. So that was an experience that I wouldn't want anybody to go through. I did get through it with phrases from the song, and the guy holding the American flag, I noticed his head turn ever so slightly as I was singing. But anyway, I had an opportunity to meet with our Congressman Neil Dunn, who did a very brave thing and reached across the aisle in a bipartisan way and brought Congresswoman Debbie Wasserman Schultz with him. And we met with all of the mayors, and we had quite an interesting discussion about how it was going to take votes from both sides to get the disaster relief bill passed, and we are continuing to work on that. So I am very proud of our local district representative, Congressman Dunn, for reaching across the aisle. Sometimes that's not popular with constituents, but he did it, and I think that's the way to get it done. So congratulations to him for what he did. We had our second cleanup day on New York Avenue on February the 16th. We had about 150 people here helping us clean that street, rake the ditches, clean out the culverts, try to get the water flowing. And I was very impressed with everyone who came. We had a lot of our Canadian visitors from the beach who came to help us. We had church organizations, and once again, we had the United Cajun Navy here helping us. So I thought that was wonderful. I've done some interview with Channel 7 as they did the demolition of the building, where the police department and several of us sitting here were during the storm, and it makes me breathe easier for that building to be gone and out of sight and not see that pile of rubble. So that shows that we're making progress. My favorite item that I would report to you tonight is I did an interview with Nisa Wilkins. She did a special on the hurricane rescue dog Buddy, and she's informed me that that feature film is going to be entered in the Associated Press contest. They were so pleased with it. So Buddy may get national recognition. I was very excited about that and bring us some more attention. So at this time, it is my honor if I could ask for Kendall Jeter to come forward. And if you brought family with you that you would like to bring with you, or your teachers, Kendall, whoever makes you feel comfortable to come forward. And I have a very special proclamation for Kendall. She is a Mosley High School student. Her principal, Brian Bullock, is here with her, and her teacher, Nicole Miller. Hi, Kendall. You can just face, if you would, just face them, and then they can take photographs of you, and I'll bring this up and present it to you in just a moment. I'm reading a proclamation. Whereas Kendall Jeter, a 17-year-old student at A. Crawford Mosley High School, demonstrated great bravery and quick thinking on September 24th, 2018, while stopped at a light on Thomas Drive, and instinctively knew that something was wrong as she watched cars in front of her go around a stopped car at the front of the light. And whereas Kendall pulled closer to the vehicle and noticed that the driver's head was resting on the steering wheel. And whereas Kendall put her car in park and got out to check on the female driver and found her unresponsive and her car still in drive. And whereas Kendall instinctively put the unresponsive driver's car in park and pulled the woman out of the car. And whereas Kendall's training in CPR helped her to react in a life-saving manner and checked the airway of the unresponsive driver and immediately began to administer CPR. And whereas after administering CPR for nearly 6 minutes, that's a long time, the woman gasped and was revived seconds before the paramedics arrived and took over. Now, therefore, by virtue of the authority vested in me as mayor of the city of Lynnhaven, and on behalf of the City Commission and all citizens of Lynnhaven, I, Margo D. Anderson, the mayor, do hereby declare February 26, 2019 as Kendall Jeter Day, with respect and gratitude for her life-saving measures and courage. In witness whereof, I do hereby set my hand and cause the seal of the city of Lynnhaven to be affixed this 26th day of February 2019. Kendall has, because of this, or one of the reasons, not the only, she's been offered a full scholarship at Gulf Coast Community College Nursing School. Thank you. And don't you have to say for the rest of the Doesn't it make you feel good to know that we have young people like that in this neighborhood right here in Lynnhaven? That's all I have for the mayor's report, so I'll move on to the recognition of Black History entries, but we don't have any of them here, right? Okay. So the commissioner's report is number 4, and I'll move over to Commissioner Dan Russell.
Thank you, Mayor. I don't have a whole lot to tell you about tonight. I do want to apologize to the commission. The first task force meeting, I was unfortunately unable to attend after I'd been appointed. I had a scheduling conflict with work. But the next meeting is this Thursday at 9, and I assure you I'll be at that meeting. And I'm continually bringing y'all stories of citizens that I've dealt with that are still trying to adjust to the hurricane. And the latest one is a gentleman that got his insurance check only to find out that his bank has filed Chapter 11. So his money is locked up and he's sitting with a house that he can't fix. And I don't know how to help you on that one, but it's going to be a process. That's all I got, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Tender?
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I've just been dealing with some local issues. A gentleman over on Rhode Island, I don't see Bobby Baker, but I think it's been taken care of with a ditch over there. I've been receiving a lot of questions about the senior center and the library, and I'm just reporting what I'm told and telling them it's going to be a while. But that seems to be the big issue for most people, is the senior center and the library. They wanted to know when that. I also attended the cleanup day on New York. It was a lot of fun, and I hope we continue to do that. If nothing else, it just gives everybody the opportunity to get together and share the day and work together. But other than that, I don't really have anything to report. Just the regular phone calls and issues that I try to answer and get cleaned up right away. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. The next cleanup day, by the way, is March 9th on a Saturday, and I forgot to give credit to Back Beach Barbecue and Ice Cream, You Scream for Ice Cream for coming out and treating all of us while we were working, so that was really great. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of things. My theme is, as far as trying to help residents is I guess, water bills. I guess there were some things there, but I do appreciate so much how well I think we communicate back and forth to the residents. So anytime I ever have an issue and have to reach out to anyone, it's always taken care of, and I appreciate that. And I was honored to participate in the judging for tonight. Difficult task. I can't believe that we all three agreed on 3 or 4 of them. That was kind of interesting because there were so many good entries. But that and the wins the last run. That's also my second largest question for the last couple of weeks is when can I keep putting, when's the last day I can put stuff out? Because I think the other municipalities and county are starting to post some dates and they're getting confused with our dates. But again, I appreciate the communication. I think we do a good job of trying to communicate to the residents. So I appreciate everybody's efforts in doing that. That's all I have. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Commissioner Barnes did call our Deputy City Clerk to let her know that he would not be here this evening. If I have a motion to excuse his absence.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any objection or discussion? Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. Says, stands approved. The next item is the city manager's report.
Yes, ma'am. Several things going on. Been busy with FEMA, been busy with the IRC, been busy with a lot of organizations trying to figure out the best approach to rebuild the city, and continue taking care of the debris problem. The debris removal is going very well. I would ask everyone to continue looking at, our Facebook account and as well as our, city website. We showing the roads we're through with. At the pace we're going, we'll probably be done, within the next week or so. So the big trucks will be out of the city of Lynnhaven, other than, traveling 77. I'd like for everybody to know, we'll be doing a mail out April 1st. It'll be a simulation of the ballot that they will see, when the election occurs, for the 2 commission seats. So all the residents of Lynnhaven will be getting that, and that way they'll know who's up for election and what seats. Continue working, I mentioned earlier, one of the things, community disaster loan, we're working on that. There's several programs through the state, several through the federal government that we can apply for. So we're trying to take advantage of each one of those. Lots of grants that we're looking at, especially grants as it relates to the sports parks. Our public adjusters have flown out tonight, going to London to work with our reinsurers over there through our insurance company that they use some companies in London. So they're trying to work out some details for the city. So hopefully we'll be getting a lot more money from our insurance, which will help us in the rebuilding process. Did look at our taxable value, just kind of let people know. Lynnhaven's taxable value has dropped to about 10.32%. Let you know that's about a $115 million drop. So it's quite a bit that had to be made up. I would like to applaud Triumph Gulf Coast for stepping up, trying to help out with the grant process that they're going to try to give cities and the counties that were affected up to 50%. I had sent them a letter about that and hopes that they would look at that. I think in the effort to try to stimulate economic growth, you first got to have something stable, and the cities and the county is what makes everything stable in the economy. Let everybody know our spring concert series is going to start up on the 12th. We have started redoing Kensaw Park, the concession stand, and giving it a whole new facelift, trying to get the splash pads back up. So those will be up, kids. They will be up for spring break. So that's my promise to you. They will be ready. And we will be starting putting Sheffield back in its place. You want to mention the donation?
Sure.
I'd like to give a big shout out to James Finch, Phoenix Construction. If you have not noticed all the Sylvester palms that he donated to the city of Lynnhaven, that was almost $50,000 worth of palm trees that he went and got at West Palm Beach. They look very good. He paid for them to be transported, be planted, and purchase the trees for us, so I really appreciate that. Other than that, Mayor, that's all I have.
And said he's bringing more, did he not?
Yes, he's gonna bring more, he said.
So,
I mean, I love palm trees.
and Lynnhaven.
And Lynnhaven.
And Lynnhaven. Thank you very much for that report. Item number 6 is the attorney's report. Mr. Albritton?
Mayor, at this time I have no report.
Did you want to mention this?
You wanna mention this or you want me to mention it? Go
Go
ahead.
Since
You
we're
did
here,
it. You did it. Go
I'll
ahead.
mention it. As it pertains to the Marina Island and the the rail recycling, we've been working with the Marina Island folks to obtain the due payment to the city of Lynnhaven today. They presented a check to Lynnhaven in the amount of $23,879.44 related to that. So thankfully we were able to work together and make some progress on that one issue.
And I congratulate you on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
At this time, was that all you had?
That's all I have.
At this time, we've moved to item number 7. This is public commentary. If you have been here before, you know that as we go through the agenda, that I do give opportunity for the public to comment on each of the items on the agenda. But if you have something you'd like to comment on either in advance or something that's not on the agenda, you're welcome to speak at this time. We ask that you try to limit your comments to 3 minutes, but if you have a prepared statement and you need a little longer than that, no one will cut you off. So is there anyone who would like to speak? Mr. Robitaille?
Shall speak from here,
Absolutely.
Madam Mayor. A couple things, about as fast as I can. First, Madam Mayor, I want you to slow down. We appreciate all you're doing, but try not to work yourself into an early grave.
I appreciate that.
And I spoke today with Mr. Peter, and he's over by my house. And he thinks Mr. White's just the best thing since white bread. No pun intended. And another thing is, I'd like to know what the status is of our chief of police. I've heard varying stories. What's going on right now? Would you please tell me what the status is? Who's our chief of police? How is it? This, that, and the other thing.
Sure, I can do that if you like, or, okay. Ricky Ramey is our acting chief of police, and because of the manner in which Chief Reamer is retiring with the state regulations, and he is still sort of the chief officially with the state of Florida, but as of May the 10th, is that correct? Chief Ramey will be sworn in officially, but he is the acting chief right now.
Okay.
Does that help?
That's part of it.
Okay,
Then it was the city manager that selected our next chief of police.
yes, it was.
And there's any thought been given to raising the chief of police to the executive level? I mean that the chief of police reports directly to the commission. Commission selects the chief of police through a search of qualifications. And you see, you have to understand this. He's the only one official in this town that supervises people that carry guns. And that's an awesome responsibility. And I think he should be up on the executive level, a consummate with pay, of course.
It's an
And I'd like you
interesting
to
point.
consider that for the future. And the final thing is, this thing about it's cut off on Sunday for the pickup and getting it out to the curb, that did not sit well. That did not sit well in my neighborhood. And I realize and I understand completely the reason for it. But I think perhaps a little more finesse, a little more be part of the community type of thing. Because right now they're trying to pick up the mess in New Hampshire and they're not doing a very good job. And people are going, see? That's what I mean. So the next time when we do something like that, perhaps a little softer approach than a dictate.
Thank you,
Thank
Mr. Robitaille. Is there anyone else? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Good evening, I'm sorry. Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue, and also a contender for seat 1 and Mr. Friend's seat. And I also agree with the gentleman back here, but I had the same problem. My contractor was supposed to have been here Sunday, he saw it out Monday, and I understand, and tomorrow I'm paying somebody $250 to haul it away. That's the penalty you have to pay if you don't follow the rules. I wasn't happy with my tree surgeon, or man, I mean, especially $250 just to haul it away. I paid him as much more to cut it down. But again, you have to play by the rules.
Thank you, Mr. Schultz. Anyone else would like to speak tonight? Okay, thank you so much. Moving on to the consent agenda, item number 8, the minutes from February 12th, the regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion to approve the minutes from February 12th and a second. Is there any discussion or changes to the minutes? Any from the public? There appears to be none. Mr. White, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Friend,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes. There is no old, it does stand approved, I'm sorry. There is no old business this evening. Moving to new business, item number 9. is the first reading of Ordinance 1072, amending Chapter 42, Section 42-5 of the Code of Ordinance for the consumption of alcohol in the City of Lynnhaven public parks. I have had a discussion about this with City Manager, and I don't know if he's discussed with others. I know we've talked about it. And I would like, before we read the ordinance, Mr. White, would you just sort of give go ahead and read the ordinance, and then I'll let you give an explanation of why we're doing that.
Ordinance number 1072, an ordinance of the City of Lynnhaven, Florida, amending Chapter 42 of the Lynnhaven Code of Ordinances of Section 42.5 regarding alcoholic beverages, repealing all ordinances in conflict, providing for codification, providing for inclusion into the code, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Would you like to give an explanation of why we're discussing this?
Yes, ma'am. This is not something that I take lightly. It's a very serious thing that y'all would have to vote on. One of the things to look at is, the city is not the same city that it was prior to October 10th. We have several big events during the year. This would not be for the City of Lynnhaven to directly sell alcohol. We'd have to do like most other vendors, go through a 501(c). However, it is an opportunity for the City of Lynnhaven to prosper a little in the profits to offset some of these big costs. For instance, right now we're dealing with the fireworks for 4th of July. That's in excess of $30,000+. We have a lot of people, and to be honest, there's people drinking in the park. We have police there. I think it's something, if we have a big event, I much rather be the one controlling these substances than trying to stop people from doing that. But the whole option would be to try to offset some of these costs. This is one thing that I've gotten a lot of feedback from the public on.
Okay. Thank you. And again, tonight is the first reading of the ordinance, which we've done. There's no action to be taken this evening. There'll be another reading and an opportunity to speak. Would anyone in the commission like to comment on this tonight, or rather not? Anybody?
Actually, Mayor, I have a couple of questions.
Okay,
if
go
I may.
ahead.
The first question I had, City Manager, was, would this be for hard liquor or just beer and wine?
Beer and wine.
Okay.
It would be but y'all will be the one to actually decide that, not me.
And if I understand correctly, we would just simply hire a vendor that would be selling it, and we would receive a portion of the profit.
We would go through a 501(c)(3) that would apply for the permit, and then you would have a vendor that would control that. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And what about the insurance liability for this?
That would fall on the vendor.
On the vendor?
Yes, ma'am.
They're responsible.
Yes, ma'am.
And if they should fall through, then it comes back to us, correct?
They would indemnify the city on that. We would require to be an additional insurer on their insurance, like we do on a lot of different things that happen in the city when we have to have outside vendors.
Okay. And then would the commission actually vote on every occasion?
If there's an event if there's an event that you want to possibly have alcohol beverages, yes, ma'am, the commission would have to vote on which event it would be.
And one more question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to sound like I'm interrogating.
It's really okay. Go ahead.
I
That's
had
what
this
I was
question,
That's
so
what
I
it's for.
wanted to know.
That's what it's for.
And last but not least, would this be up for an RFQ? Would we, are we going to get a vendor, the best vendor, or are we just going to get somebody local, or?
I have not thought that far in
Okay.
advance.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I did have one other question for you, if I may.
Yes, ma'am.
Inject this about the debris, and I want to make sure that I'm clear on this.
Well, we're actually just on this item
Okay,
right now,
okay.
Commissioner
I'll get it
Tinder,
later.
but
I'll get it
we
later.
can come back to it.
I'll get it. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there anyone else on the commission who would like to speak to this?
Mayor, I would.
Commissioner Friend?
If you don't mind, Mayor, I'd just like to ask legal counsel to clarify, because in reading the change, it does say alcohol. So do we have to, spell out beer and wine? And then the next question would be the risk and the liability that even if we have a vendor, the risk and the liability that it would place the city in for us to allow this to happen.
Commissioner Friend, as the ordinance is written, it uses the term alcohol, and if you read behind the new portion, which is bold and underlined, you see it reference beer, wine, liquor, or alcoholic beverages of any kind. So ultimately, it would be within the purview of the commission if at any specific event that it was proposed to determine what would be allowed. The commission could limit the types of alcohol. The commission could limit the vendors, who's allowed, and the disbursement of it. If the city of Lynnhaven itself was going to be distributing alcohol, obviously that exponentially increases liability. But if you go through a qualified vendor, you obtain and you require them to have the insurance policy limits that would be requisite for such an event, and name the city as an additional insured, it limits the exposure that the city has. Obviously, the city has certain immunities in certain cases through sovereign immunity and other items that may or may not be applicable depending on the factual circumstances, but you severely mitigate if you go through the process of hiring a qualified vendor, requiring them to have the appropriate insurance level, and making sure that the city's named as an additional insured. So you would mitigate your exposure.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Anyone else on the board have a question or comment? Does anyone from the public have a question or comment? Mr. Walker?
Good evening, Rich Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. Just for clarification, you're right, this has got ramifications that can spill all over. It's the tip of an iceberg. Just from a casual observation, it rescinds a lot of rules that are city-made, and they're not specifically put in here. For example, you have a open bottle rule in the city streets. The parks are very close to the city streets. Somebody walks in there with an open drink, would our police be? They're probably not going to be that tight, but this is what's going to happen. It looks like we're not giving permission for people to drink. That's not what you're after. I'm glad we're getting some interpretation here. One of my problems here is, will the vendor be licensed by the state? For example, when we did the block party, we had a vendor. He's doing exactly the way you said it. That's the way it should be done. They had to get a license, a day license, to the license. Right. That puts them in responsibility, okay? If they sell to a minor, the word sell to a minor, or a minor gets drunk, or somebody gets drunk, the bartender is usually held liable. The person that sells it is held liable. If the city is going to be the honest of this, then the city is going to be kind of liable there. For example, if that person's drunk and drives out on the city street and kills somebody, usually the bartender can be taken up on manslaughter. So what I'm trying to suggest here is this is really deep, and licensing, and you've got to really search out every avenue to protect the city. So if you're looking at it, and it looks like you are, I like the explanation, but just be aware of the ramifications that we had when we did the block party. Be very careful.
Thank you.
Okay.
Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Mr. Robitaille?
Alcohol in a public place. The most important thing, like a park, is you have to consider the population. That's the important thing. It's just like laws. Laws aren't made for good people because we don't commit any crime. No, so I've been known to drink a few in my day, and I've known to get together with guys. But in a public park, it all depends upon what atmosphere you're trying to achieve. Are you trying to achieve a family setting where people go and relax with their children and play on the beautiful equipment we have here? People want to go for a picnic, sit on the lawn, listen to the music. Elderly, young, but most importantly, the little ones. I would say there's probably not a child in America that hasn't seen his dad throw up. I mean, that's the way it is in the world. But to bring your child to a public park and to be put in a situation where you really can't do anything about that idiot, You can't really do it, because what are we gonna call a cop, he's gonna get on sobriety test, that's not gonna work. So you have to consider the population. And most importantly, you have to consider the religious background of this community. So, to just make it carte blanche, I said no. I say no, if a guy's gotta have a few, he can do it in his driveway with his buddies watching the 55th Street. Not in a public park. I don't want to go down there with my wife and listen to the music and somebody being an idiot next to me, I don't want that. And I know you don't want that for your kids.
Thank you, Mr. Robitaille. Is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Okay. Then since it is a first reading requiring no action, we'll move on to item number 10. This is the first reading of Ordinance 1073, prohibiting smoking in public parks. Would you please read the ordinance, Mr. White?
Ordinance 1073, an ordinance of the City of Lynnhaven, Florida, relating to electronic cigarettes, prohibiting the use of electronic cigarettes at all locations on city property where smoking is presently prohibited, providing for codification, providing for severability, and providing an immediately effective date.
Thank you. Would you like to offer some explanation with that as well?
Since, the previous ordinance was smoking in the different facilities of Lynnhaven, has changed due to the fact of vaping and things of that nature, so, those are becoming more prevalent, so I think, to protect the soundness of those ordinances, this is something that we need to move forward with as well.
And Madam
Thank
Mayor,
you.
and
Yes, go
if I
ahead.
may,
Please go ahead.
If you read through the ordinance, it references chapter 386 of the Florida statutes. Florida statutes doesn't directly,
You get a little closer.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
It references chapter 386 of the Florida statutes, and essentially what it is running parallel with Florida statute 386. Vaping is not addressed in the Florida statutes specifically, so this allows us to work parallel with the Florida statutes and prevent the word smoking, traditional, what we think of as traditional smoking is prohibited by Florida statute. It also allows us to prohibit vaping in the same respect and same scope as the Florida statutes under chapter 386.
Thank you. Anyone else have comments or questions on the board about this ordinance? Anyone from the public? Yes, Mr. Schultz.
Thank you.
Bob Schultz, Pennsylvania Avenue, 509, also running for seat 1. My question is, you said public parks, brings to mind down there close to where I live, Porter Park. Is the walking bridge, the fishing bridge, do we own that? Is that part of the park?
Yes, it is.
So from what you're saying, there could be no smoking, no vaping on the bridge also. That's gonna be a problem. You got a lot of fishermen.
No, again, this ordinance pertains specifically to vaping, but it follows chapter 386 and those rules and regulations. And I would suggest that you defer to Florida statutes 386, chapter 386, as it pertains to what is and is not allowed. It does not expand the city of Lynnhaven's authority beyond Florida statutes. It essentially says that vaping is now included with these definitions to go along with the rules and regulations of Florida statutes chapter 386.
Could you clarify what that says? I think that's kind of a point of contention with people. Yeah.
Chapter 386 is the Florida Indoor Clean Air Act, which addresses smoking in indoor facilities and other similar facilities that are contained to try and limit secondhand smoke and other effects that are detrimental to an individual's house. So, generally speaking, the prohibitions that the city could enforce will be found under that Florida statute and those particular terms inside there. All the city's trying to do is include vaping because vaping can have a detrimental effect similar to traditional smoking inside the definition to try and prevent that from occurring in those places that the statute already prohibits smoking. So we're not, we as in the city are not expanding the rules and regulations of where and where you cannot smoke beyond what has already been set forth by your legislators in Tallahassee.
Does that answer your question, Mr. Schultz?
I'll think about it a little bit, but I think so.
I think in other words, in layman's terms, if you're allowed to smoke on the bridge right now under Florida statutes, then Lynnhaven can't change that.
Yeah, that's correct.
Generally speaking, correct.
I can see why you're a lawyer.
Is there anyone else who would like to ask a question or make a comment on this particular first reading of an ordinance? Okay, we'll move on then to item number 11. This is, there was no ill intent meant there when I said. Item number 11, approval for the city manager to negotiate and purchase the 915 Pennsylvania Avenue property. City manager, do you have a report on that for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. For those familiar with property or unfamiliar, it's the little white house across from Sheffield Park on Pennsylvania Avenue. This property is adjacent to our senior citizen center, and those that utilize that space know sometimes they run out of parking quite a bit, which leaves the seniors quite a distance to walk. It would be my intent to look at trying to purchase this property, and we've been talking with the owner. She's willing to sell, to allow the city to purchase it, eventually knock down the house and include it with part of the rebuild, and include the that area as a parking area for the park and also for our seniors.
Thank you. Is there a motion for approval?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Go ahead.
We just need a motion and a second for discussion.
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. Are there questions or comments from the board?
Yes, Mayor. One of the questions I have based on what you just said, city manager, is you want to eventually knock down the house. Is somebody living in the house and will they remain there?
No,
Or
ma'am.
we're not renting it to them?
No, ma'am.
There's nobody there now?
She's in a camper next door.
Okay.
She's on the property in the camper. But part of the agreement that I'm looking at is give her, 30 days, 45 days or so to get moved off.
Okay. And do we have a price yet? Have you agreed on a price?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. You don't want to share that right now?
Yeah.
He's still in negotiations, are you not?
Okay.
So-
Okay.
That's
that's
part
fine.
of the reason, it would, I'm looking at all things like I did the other piece of property and make sure, the city, I've contacted quite a few people that deal with real estate every day.
Okay, thank you.
Are there other comments or questions from the board?
Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
so this motion is to give him permission to go ahead and purchase the property. Just for clarification, we can't buy anything that's above appraised value, correct? Is that not, there's some rule about that?
I'm not aware of a rule saying you can't buy anything above appraised value.
Okay,
If the commission would wish to put a limit, then because of the negotiation factor, we don't want to hamstring the city manager, I would recommend use a bracket between X number and Y number.
It's hard to give a bracket when we don't know our ballpark range. So, I mean, short of and
She's agreed to $100,000.
Other comment, question? Any from the public? There appear to be none. Mr. White, please call the roll.
Commissioner Fran,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
yes,
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Mayor Anderson.
Yes, and so it stands approved for you to negotiate and purchase. And if I can make a comment about this, I think that if you notice sort of the trend is just trying to fill in a large square there around the park and, think for the future with the property we have. And I think it's a very far-sighted plan, and I really like the direction that it's going. So, thank you. Item number 12 is the discussion and possible approval for the removal of debris from private property due to Hurricane Michael. Mr. White, could you maybe give us a little report, and then I'll ask for a motion?
Yes, ma'am. The private property debris removal is a process of where the city can ask FEMA to allow us to go on properties that do qualify to allow us to come in there and take off the property, the debris off the property, and/or demolish a facility. It would fall under the same rules as the 75-25 rule right now. However, there are a lot of caveats, and each one will stand on its own merit. We would go through Tetra Tech, which is our consultant. They would deal with the homeowner and deal with their insurance to see how much insurance, because FEMA don't allow you to double dip. If their insurance pays for part of it, that will have to come off. So they would make sure we stay in the guidelines. What I'm asking to do today is there is a lot of property after going through the process of cleaning up the city. A lot of people do see a lot of homes that have not been touched, property that has not been touched. These are only going to be issues that the city has to deal with later. It'd be under my judgment to you is to allow us to ask the FEMA to allow us to enroll in the public property debris removal and see if we can use this as a mechanism to help clean up the city.
And it does include commercial property as well.
If they do allow it. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And just a clarification for anyone with the public not familiar with 75-25, that after the 45 days where FEMA would be reimbursing at 100%, that is the guarantee right now that FEMA would reimburse at 75%, with the state picking up 12.5% and the city picking up the other 12.5%. So that's the figure that he was referring to, if you're not familiar with that. Anything else you want to add, Mr. White?
No,
Okay, is there a motion for approval for us to move forward with this process of removal of debris from private property due to Hurricane Michael?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Now, are there questions or concerns from the board?
Mayor,
Yes, Commissioner Friend.
if I could, Mr. White, could you just give us an example of private property, please?
Consider a home that was totally destroyed. A piece of property that would possibly be eligible would be one that did not have insurance.
Right.
That piece of property would typically sit there, be abandoned, could be a hazard to the kids that play around the area. It become a haven for pests, unfortunately rats and animals of that nature. So this will allow the homeowner to come and apply with Tetra Tech, and what they would do is go through the process, have them fill out a lot of forms, and then what they would do is do some surveys. We would forward that address onto FEMA. FEMA would take that address, they would go do a site visit themselves, look at all the paperwork, and they would make a decision, say, yes, this one qualifies, or no. It'd be through FEMA, not us being the one determining factor.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Sure. Are there other questions?
Yes, ma'am.
Go ahead, please, Commissioner Tender.
On this issue, if FEMA does approve it, that the city can demo the property, this is with the owner's consent, right? This isn't going in and demoing property just to pretty it up.
Yes, ma'am. They would be the ones actually applying. What you're referring to will be a little later time, would be through our code enforcement and our regulations that we follow in the city.
Okay, thank you. And I did,
Go ahead.
Can I ask my debris question now?
Yes.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, for those people who are at the point still waiting for insurance and have not made full demolition of their homes, they've not torn out their drywall or anything like that, can you tell me what options they have when it comes to fruition and they can put all this stuff out? Are they going to be totally 100% responsible for hauling that away? Or is the city going to help in any way?
Go ahead, Mr.
If
White.
they have insurance, that is part of their insurance policy. For instance, my personal home, I purchased 3 dumpsters, and because I did not want the debris on my yard. However, the insurance is going to reimburse me for those dumpsters to take care of that. So when they pay for drywall or insulation, it's to take it out, dispose of it, and put new back. And that's through the insurance policy.
Okay. So technically, we will not be picking up any debris?
No, ma'am. That's part of that would be more part of their recovery. A lot of this debris is debris that fell off homes,
Right.
limbs, that's the things we need to be picking up. A lot of actual demoing type homes, that becomes more of an insurance issue.
No, I understand. I'm just trying to make it very clear.
Yes, ma'am.
Any debris sitting alongside the road now, whether it's trees, contracting materials, cement, whatever it could be, is the owner's responsibility.
That's
Is
not
that-
what he said.
No, ma'am.
Okay.
If
Other than FEMA and what we were just
Well,
talking about.
yes, ma'am. If my home was destroyed and I'm still waiting on insurance,
Mhm.
I need to wait. When the insurance pays, when they pay you that claim,
they're actually paying for you to gut that home, they're paying for that debris to be hauled off, and they're paying for it to be put back. That does not become, you know, in my opinion, and the way FEMA looks at it is a issue for us to have to pick that type of debris up.
No, I could.
Now, concrete, that's a different thing, you know, I have not seen a lot of busted concrete due to the wind. You know, that's part of demo, the concrete area. You know, I think they need to pick up their concrete themselves. The city doesn't, you know, that wasn't caused by the storm, that's because they decided to build on or, you know, add on. So that's part of, as well, in my opinion, insurance, you know, claim.
Okay, thank you
Yes,
very
ma'am.
much.
Are there other comments or questions?
Yes,
Commissioner
Mayor,
Russell.
if you don't mind, getting back to the point, the 12.5%, is it the intent of the city to bill the property owner for the 12.5%, or is that gonna come out of our general fund?
I think that would be something that we need to look at once we just find out how many homes that actually qualify, because not every home will qualify for this program, and it could be just a few, and it could be a lot. I have no idea.
That would be my fear, that if we don't state that we're gonna have to have the property owner pay for their percentage, you know, that it's gonna be, it could be a mess for the city. It could be
Yes, sir.
a rather large bill.
But we will know that.
And I think Mr. White, if you'll allow me, Commissioner Russell, in some of the discussion that was held today, I think that we'll know more about how many homes are involved once FEMA begins to take the applications and they begin to do the inspections. It's not something that'll be ongoing for months and months and months. It'll sort of be, and it can be something that we can discuss at that time and make decisions about. Is that not correct, Mr. White?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
One other question, if you don't mind.
Sure, go ahead.
Is it just gonna be for property that has houses on it, or is it gonna be vacant lots that have trees now?
That will be a decision Tetra Tech works with FEMA on. The city will, you know, I'll probably have a place for them, and one of the areas I'm looking at is for the citizens to come in possibly to the fire station. I haven't explained this to the fire chief yet, but that's one of the only buildings we have left. But I want our citizens to be able to come in and talk freely and be in private, and, you know, because, you know, this has to deal with their insurance, it has to deal with their personal information, and we need to keep that privately.
Any other discussion? Are there any questions or discussion from the public on this matter? Yes, Mr. Robitaille?
This is a real sore issue for us in our neighborhood.
Okay, please go ahead.
Well, on the corner of Main and 19th Street, right across from each other, are two of the biggest fears we've had in our neighborhood, and that fear is abandonment. Nothing will ruin a city faster than abandonment. What does that mean? That means they haven't got any equity in the first place, don't have any insurance, living from paycheck to paycheck. Well, let's go. And they simply go away. We got two of those houses, that's a real eyesore. So that takes me to the 75-25. Now, the 25% is our piece, right? The city,
12.5% is
12.5%. Now, what about the owner?
And that's the discussion that we were just having, sir.
Okay, but my question is, if they're not going to contribute, can we put a lien on that property again or money back?
I would defer to attorney. I think there are going to be multiple options that we'll have as we move along. And I would say to you that we're still, it's disconcerting to see the debris in all its forms, whether it's an abandoned house and all that.
So you haven't gone that far yet?
And at this point in time, we're trying to be, I think compassionate is the word, because we're all still trying to get through this. But there will come deadlines. There will come times when people will have to do what they have to do. And we will take whatever action that we need to take as a city to make sure that all of us live in the same quality of life that we had before. And
Yes,
I would defer to attorney if you want to comment on that.
I just don't want us to be a big grandfather here, just helping everybody out.
I hear you.
And going on to another issue
Okay.
on the same line is a real burr on my saddle.
Okay.
Is this property what was once a vacant lot behind a Whataburger. It was a nice lot, big cleared. Now, here we go about removing debris. The owner of that lot, as I understand it, and I've been told, is Whataburger's owners themselves. But that has become, as I may have informed a few of you, it's a big city dump. I mean, if you wanna use mattresses, that's the place, folks. It's, I mean, they got brush, they got everything there. But which leads me to this. The owner didn't make that mess. Okay? So again, to our attorney, does that mean the owner is responsible to clean it up? However, neither the owner nor the city made any effort to blockade the driveway in there. So where does culpability lie?
I don't know the answer to that question, Mr. Robitaille, but what I will tell you, there will come a time, if I'm still the mayor, as long as I'm the mayor, that I will stand up and push for it and try to get consensus on this commission, that we will clean up the city, we will use our ordinances, we will use our code enforcement, but right now, we're still in a time of recovery, compassion, trying to help everyone. So that will change at some point.
I realize I'm pushing hard, I'm pushing hard.
And your 3 minutes is almost up.
And I push real hard, but then again, it's been 4 months. It's been 4 months,
Yes, sir.
and people are really getting depressed, really getting depressed. So.
I
if
still have a tarp, I
anything, If my
understand.
pushing does nothing more than aggravate you to the point where you'll move, then I appreciate it.
And I appreciate you, Mr. Robitaille, thank you. Is there? Mr. White was just telling me that we've arrested 6 people on that one particular piece of property you're referring to for illegal dumping. I knew we had arrested some, but I didn't know they were all on that property, so.
I know there's several people who've been arrested.
Well, you
but they
didn't mention that,
continue to
Mr.
dump.
Robitaille, so there we go. All right, is there anyone else who would like to speak this evening? Yes, sir, please come on.
This is okay to speak from back here?
Well, I allow Mr. Robitaille because of
Not a problem.
other, thank you, just a truck for, thank you,
My name is William Stout. I live at 1506 Maryland Avenue.
thank you,
Good evening and congratulations, ma'am.
thank you.
Our back fence, along with everybody else's, was blown out during the hurricane. When we heard that the 17th was the drop dead date for the pickups, I made it a point to rent a trailer to get my fence pieces and parts all up and stacked neatly in my front yard, along with the other debris. Yesterday morning, a code.
May I go back, 17th was the last day to put it out there, that was not the day for, okay,
Yes, ma'am.
not
It was
the,
out.
okay,
That's what I'm
thank
saying.
you.
On that, before that date, everything was out.
Go ahead.
Yesterday, a code enforcement officer showed up at my house and said, we're not gonna pick it up. And I was like, you're kidding, why? Because it wasn't out in time. I said, yes, it was.
Okay,
I went and rented a trailer and pulled everything around. Has the date changed? Maryland hasn't been touched.
What's your address?
1506 Maryland.
I'll take care of it.
Thank you. There's no additional date or anything?
No.
Is my question.
it just sounds like there was a misunderstanding, he'll take care of it,
Awesome. Thank you very much.
thank you. Anyone else? All right, so at this time, we've had a motion and a second, anything else the board wants to say? Mr. White, please call the roll.
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. It's not on the agenda? Okay, Mr. White needs to add, a resolution, is this gonna need a vote tonight? We can't add it. We have to wait. We do need to wait.
Is that the PPDR
No,
resolution?
no,
No, this would require a vote, so we have to advertise that, don't we? I'll defer to your
That's one
opinion.
for a
We
letter
have to
from the city.
advertise that.
Correct, because if we would take affirmative action on a policy decision of the city, I would have to recommend that the city include this on the next meeting's agenda.
All right, thank you. Thank you all for attending tonight. It's been a very productive meeting, I think, and please, everybody, continue to hang in there. We're all in this together, and the meeting is adjourned.